Okay, so I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and so it pains me to tell you that this is not a mythical tree called an Ent coming to life in the forest, but rather a tree in the forest dealing with very strong winds or a windstorm. So what happened in Quebec, in Sacré-Cœur, we had explosive cyclogenesis, a very strong storm, rapidly intensifying and produced really strong wind gusts that were somewhat relentless throughout the forest. So the tree was experiencing these strong winds, and that force from the wind gets translated from the tree down towards the roots in the ground. So
well, Dan, there have been a record-breaking 10 Category 5 storms around the world this season. One of those, Category 5 Walaka, came very close to one of the islands on the north end of the Hawaiian island chain, a very small island, but that storm surge completely submerged the island. I want to show you pictures of East Island before it was submerged. It's only 1 kilometer long by 120 meters wide, but this is an ecologically crucial island to the Hawaiian chain, housing endangered monk seal and green turtles. In fact, the endangered Hawaiian green turtle, about half of its population actually lays its eggs on this chain, and you can see the dramatic altering. So just before that storm, you can see the island sticking out of the ocean there, and afterwards, well, it's pretty much submerged, and biologists say they're not sure if it will ever re-emerge. Take a listen to a professor of Earth and Sciences from the University of Hawaii on the kinds of impacts we're talking about.
We were up there in July. It was certainly obvious there were hundreds of nests up in the dune area of that island, and literally every step you had to be careful to not step on an active nest. So the ecosystem impacts are huge.
Even by Mother Nature's standards, it was unique.
They were bracing for a storm, but faced this instead.
We've got a tornado!
A ferocious vortex of wind, rain and ice, dubbed a hailnado.
Extremely violent supercells have cut a path of destruction across a vast area of southern Queensland.
It's just massive. I've never ever seen anything like this before. Trees just stripped, ice, hail absolutely everywhere.
Birds even stripped of their feathers, hail the size of tennis balls. A system so severe, forecasters took the rare step of issuing this emergency alert. In Gympie, this was the sound of people in its path.
I've been through plenty of cyclones, but that storm was probably the worst that I've seen.
Lose him, but we lost our house, and tomorrow with it being like this, it's very nerve-wracking.
For Mickey and other people who live here, tornadoes are a fact of life in Oklahoma. Dozens of twisters touched down over the weekend from Oklahoma to Texas.
Get closer.
Storm chasers came dangerously close to disaster in Kansas on Friday.
Roll your window up. Roll your window up.
The storm's funnel cloud passed right in front of their vehicle. No one was hurt.
Semi over in the road! Good night, look at that!
Across this region, damage has been extensive.
It just hit a house right here, guys!
With new storms approaching, more Oklahoma is again in the bullseye.
Also triggered a state of emergency in the port city of Aqaba. Authorities have also deployed a drone to search flooded areas for missing people and to measure damage caused by the storm. The rescue teams and helicopters are also searching for 5 people.
The operation is underway and at least 11 people, all seriously injured, have been found so far. Search teams are looking for 16 people who are still missing.
More torrents of water as a large search operation continues in southern Jordan, involving army helicopters. Flash floods here quickly left some desert areas 4 meters underwater. Some families were trapped in their cars and swept away. Several children and a diver involved in the difficult rescue effort are among those who died.
Torrential rains flooded the famed UNESCO World Heritage Site, forcing the evacuation of nearly 4,000 tourists. Those who witnessed the incident say they barely had time to get out of the way.
We're standing beside the canal, and we all of a sudden hear like a thunder noise, and from a cliff a lot of water came down. It was just like you see it in the movies.
We saw a few people, Arabic people and Bedouins, screaming, shouting, and we thought, what's going on? And then 10 minutes later, they pushed us, or they said, go to the mountains, water is coming.
Hundreds of thousands of visitors flock to Petra each year to marvel at its massive granite-carved facades and tombs, making the antique city the crown jewel of Jordanian tourism.
Has wreaked havoc on the northern Mariana Islands, destroying hundreds of homes in the process.
The storm has left communities in ruins, with residents likening the aftermath to a war zone. Officials say it was one of the worst storms they have ever seen.
Rescue and relief operations are underway after the most powerful typhoon in half a century passed the islands of Tinian and Saipan on Thursday local time.
This is the strongest storm currently on Earth and the strongest we've seen so far in 2018. So it is no joke. It is a big deal. Winds, Andrea, have been up to 290 kilometers an hour, which exceeds a Category 5 hurricane.
That's what we're saying, you know. Literally, this could have been a Category 6 storm on the Saffir-Simpson scale, but it goes up to 5. You know, that just gives you the perspective of it, too. We were chatting earlier with storm hunter Jacqueline.
Whoa! Great. The ceiling just collapsed.
Officials say the U.S. Commonwealth could be without running water for months. The typhoon had maximum sustained winds of 180 miles per hour. It is the strongest typhoon to pass over the islands.
The Commonwealth delegate to the U.S. Congress said the island will need significant help with recovery. Nestor Lecanto from our affiliate in Guam, KUAM, has more.
Parts of the Saipan airport were heavily damaged by the storm. Commonwealth Ports Deputy Director Bill Camacho says flight activity has been suspended until further notice, and there is no timeline yet for reopening as they are still making assessments. Power poles were toppled throughout the island. No estimates yet for restoration, but vital communication service remains.
questo? Dove va questo? È chiuso! Mongoloide! Roma, Roma.
The coast of Mexico, Deborah Kasprick is seeing the first signs of the storm.
Everybody's just kind of hunkering down, trying to stay dry.
Hurricane Willa, now a Category 4.
Well, I'm going to stand right inside the door here.
You could feel Michael on the way. The pressure suddenly plummeting.
My ears have been popping for a half hour. I'm not standing outside because I can't. And I won't because it is just too dangerous. We have seen debris flying, pieces of homes. Certainly huge. You can hear it. I mean, just take a listen to that. That incredible roar. I am constantly trying to keep the cool. We are in a cement building. We are in the safest place we could possibly be at this point. We're not going to be the only ones dealing with hurricane force winds.
We ride out Michael's direct hit on the second floor of a cement condo in Mexico Beach.
Miles per hour. And there goes more. I don't know if you're hearing the crashing. Yeah.
Large chunks of debris seen flying by.
I think at this point we're going to start to wrap up.
As a Category 4 hurricane, almost Category 5, packing winds up to 155 miles an hour. Strongest storm to hit the U.S. in nearly 50 years. Look at that wind right there now. Hundreds of thousands of people across Florida and Georgia waking up to scenes of total devastation. You see this school right here completely destroyed.
Down the road, the walls on a large church stripped away. Amazingly, the cross on top still standing.
As we go just 15 miles from the Tyndall Air Force Base in the Florida Panhandle to Mexico Beach, Florida, which was practically wiped off the map after Hurricane Michael. On the beach, one of the few houses that still stands, and the images of it are just stark. It's known as the Sand Palace. So last weekend, we went to Mexico Beach. Democracy Now! Traveled to the Florida Panhandle, and we found Russell King there at his home, the Sand Palace. The increasing intensity and ferocity of these storms, scientists say, I mean, overwhelmingly, that this is being fueled by human activity. Your thoughts on this?
Well, I believe in the Bible. I also believe in science, and I don't know what all causes these storms to be so frequent now and so ferocious. I say look around and look at the science. I mean, sometimes people say things politically to be expedient, but if there's a 1% chance that human activity has contributed to this, don't we need to look at that closely? And if there's scientists, if there's other data out there, I mean, show it to me. I don't know, except I see people down here hurting terribly. People have lost their homes, people have lost everything. Whatever the cause, whether it's human activity or not, to build down here, you're gonna have to do more of this, and I'm gonna have to do more to survive the next one. But I would hope that the politicians would do more to try to deal with what's going on.
Landmark UN report released just this week warned mankind has 12 years to dramatically reduce greenhouse gas emissions or face global catastrophe, with severe drought, floods, rising sea levels, and extreme heat set to cause mass dislocation and destruction.
The UN's meteorology experts say levels of greenhouse gases in the Earth's atmosphere reached a record high last year. The World Meteorological Organization added that carbon dioxide, methane and nitrous oxide are now far above pre-industrial levels, with no sign of a reversal in sight. According to the report, CO2 levels reached more than 405 parts per million in 2017. That is a 46% increase from levels in the atmosphere seen before the Industrial Revolution. WMO Chief Petteri Talas warned that without rapid cuts in greenhouse gases, climate change will have increasingly destructive and irreversible impacts on life on Earth. He added that the window
Agency Chief Petteri Talas.
There's extreme urgency, and countries were giving their pledges after the Paris Agreement, and so far the progress hasn't been good enough that we would move towards 1.5 or 2 degrees targets. So there's clearly a need for much higher ambition level to reach even 2 degrees targets. So we are more moving towards 3 to 5 at the moment. There are some estimations what is the difference between 1.5 degree and 2 degree. And one of the major issues is that there would be 420 million people less suffering because of climate change if we would be able to limit the warming to 1.5 degree. Already the emissions that we have emitted to the atmosphere means that this negative trend will continue for the coming decades. So that's going to happen, and that means growing amount of disasters and challenges.